CGTN Radio. Hear the difference.
Now the news. I'm Ken. China's national political advisers are set to convene in capital Beijing on Monday. Spokesperson Liu Jie says the CPPCC's annual session will last until March the 10th.
The CPPCC will carry forward its fine tradition, uphold its political responsibilities, focus on the central and overall tasks, enhance theoretical and political guidance, vigorously make recommendations, build consensus, strengthen capacity building, and open up new prospects for its work in the new era.
The advisers gather for the annual political event known as the Two Sessions, during which national lawmakers will also get together to discuss key political and economic plans this year. The advisers, as members of the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference, can give advice on those plans and how to implement them. The Chinese embassy in the Philippines has slammed the Philippine ambassador to the United States' claims regarding the South China Sea and the so-called economic coercion. A spokesperson from the Chinese embassy says China condemns any act that hypes up tension in the South China Sea. The spokesperson stressed that forming cliques will not help resolve disputes but damage regional peace and stability. The United States says Israel has, quote, basically accepted a proposal for a temporary halt in fighting in Gaza. Meanwhile, the United States has joined Jordan in airdropping aid to the coastal territory. It's the first time that the U.S. participated in the multinational humanitarian effort. The move comes as calls grow for an international investigation into the deaths of more than 100 Palestinians as Israel opened fire on crowds at an aid distribution point. David Biller with the Associated Press has more.
The outline of the deal was the release of 40 Israeli hostages in exchange for about 300 Palestinian prisoners and a 6-week ceasefire that would allow for hundreds of aid trucks to go into Gaza every day. The calls for a ceasefire have grown extremely intense this week, particularly in the wake of the incident with swarms of desperate Gazans going hard at these aid trucks and Israeli soldiers firing their weapons. This violent incident is what tipped the balance for the U.S. to begin its airdrops. We saw the first of those airdrops, 66 parcels, that's the equivalent of 38,000 meals. There is sort of an unofficial deadline to reach a deal, which is the start of Ramadan. U.S. official told us that Israel has basically signed on to the outline of this deal, and the ball is now in Hamas's court.
Cyprus says several countries are exploring the possibility of establishing a sea corridor from Cyprus to Gaza for the transfer of international aid. Local media quoted government sources as saying that issues under discussion are where the aid will be delivered and who will be in charge of its distribution. A government spokesman says Cyprus is in contact with the potential participants in relation to the provision of humanitarian support. He was replying to reports that the U.S. administration was considering the delivery of aid to Gaza by sea through Cyprus. Hungarian Parliament Speaker Laszlo Kövér has signed off on the ratification of Sweden's NATO accession and forwarded the legislation to the President's office for promulgation. Lawmakers approved Sweden's membership within the alliance last week, which ended months of delays to complete a security policy shift. Stockholm abandoned its non-alignment policy after the Russia-Ukraine conflict began in 2022. Former U.S. President Donald Trump has won caucuses in Idaho and Missouri, beating former U.S. Ambassador to the UN Nikki Haley. Trump was also awarded more delegates during the Republican convention in Michigan. This came after Trump's victories in Iowa, New Hampshire, Nevada, and South Carolina, drawing him closer to the Republican presidential nomination. In sport, LeBron James of the Los Angeles Lakers has become the first player in NBA history to reach 40,000 career points. He achieved this feat during his side's regular season game with the Denver Nuggets on Saturday. James is now in his 21st season, and no other active players are close to his scoring record. And that's the news. I'm Ken Lu.